Well, the late fall arrived and the closures of most of the Ankeny Wildlife Area trails once again forced the Darchris team to tough it out at the local parks. Yeah, it's tolerable enough. And sometimes we get a little surprise along the way. Just a little one. So goes the fall. Then we step into winter. And so does Mr. Heron, who's pondering the tundra swans and what they're up to. The ice and cold of winter make it difficult at times, but during the weather breaks, we can still get out to the Ankeny Boardwalk Trail, which stays open all year round. We take in the early morning sunrise as we wonder what we'll see that day. The boardwalk has seen better days, but it's still sturdy enough to hold us, and it allows us to take in the scenery. We never know what to expect, and right off we get this, a red-breasted sapsucker. And he was not the only one we'd see that day.
Darcy was all tickled with her sapsucker at this point, but I sensed something was wrong, or weird on the refuge. Something screwy was in the air.
There's plenty of water here, and that's a good thing. Evidently this pruning work builds up quite a thirst in a hard-working sapsucker.
A lot of moss picking for a bug.
We'll let the sapsuckers be and head back down the boardwalk to our car.
We were seeing quite a few critters during our boardwalk, but they just seemed to be acting a little wacko. You know, it was just a feeling in the air. Yes, sir, things weren't all ducky on the refuge. Pardon me there.
Spring will be here before we know it. Yes, indeed, the month of March brings the signs of spring. And by April 1st, all of the Ankeny trails open up for us to enjoy.
Yeah, spring brought a lot of beauty, all right, but I was wondering if there was still any screwiness floating around the old refuge.
The world comes alive, teeming with a variety of wildlife.
Darcy was all a-twitter with spring flowers. That was all pretty normal, but I wondered about the woo-woo feelings I'd felt there in the winter. Was the place still acting spooky? And why? That's an odd-looking mushroom. You don't suppose... Nah.
We're always excited on opening day to see everything we can.
It was all happy and springy. Even the music was bubbly. We wanted to see if we'd see some elk out here.
Well, no sooner did we wish it than there they were. First one, then a whole herd.
You gotta realize these are wild elk, and they're here less than 5 miles from the Salem city limits. They spend about half their time on the Ankeny Refuge and the other half on surrounding farms.
Well, that was neat. What else can we find?
Genuine American bald eagle wannabe.
When will I get my white head?
Okay, it doesn't happen that fast, but Junior sure would like it to if you asked him. And the old guy didn't care much for this.
Then I saw some white spots ahead. What were they? Egrets? A dozen or so were waiting around in search for food, but they all seemed to be looking at something.
This one was after something better, though.
Yeah, he left. This guy caught something, though.
Yum yum. But what is he eating? Maybe the raindrops? No, those aren't raindrops. Those are tadpoles. Wonder what frogs think about being eaten. Nope. And nope. These bullfrogs look like they'd be easy prey, but we guess they figure safety in numbers. All these dots here are bullfrogs.
And all those dots are watching for anything that might be trying to eat them. I gotta admit, I was looking around a bit myself. Something just didn't feel right.
Bet the osprey is chewing on a frog, and maybe the heron too. You know, the heron had been a great guide for us in past years, but when we tried to ask him about the frog,
That was screwy.
he took off and left us to our own devices. And that was too bad, really, because we really could have used some help figuring out the strange goings-on that followed.
Strange is right, and we would wind up having two totally different versions of what exactly that strange was.
It all started so innocently, really. Ducks were doing their thing and everything seemed so normal. Nothing really out of place. But it wasn't long before we noticed that there was a change in the force. Something was afoot. The geese flew in to tell us what was wrong. Something sinister had killed one of theirs. We're not sure, but we think that's what got the parents all kinds of paranoid about the rest of their children, keeping them close, not even allowing them to stop and eat.
And the music got all somber and mysterious.
Some children rebelled this sticking together routine and exasperated the poor parents. Then the adults exhibited all kinds of strange behavior. They were sensing that weird force too.
I too was beginning to sense something weird about this time myself.
Something was out there.
Darcy was starting to give me goose pimples. What was causing all this bizarre goings-on at the refuge?
A flock of people seemed to sense this force as well. We usually have this parking lot to ourselves. What's the deal? Like everyone knew something strange was happening, just couldn't put their finger on it. Then, as luck would have it, we were filming what we thought was just typical everyday nutria behaviors. And we amused ourselves as we watched them swim, clean and groom themselves.
Looks like he might have a date tonight, if the voodoo doesn't get him.
Until Mom freaked out.
And Dad.
Run, run, run! And got her young into the water, feeling the need to have them swim towards some kind of safety. Then it seemed everyone was freaking out. Killdeer were sounding alarms and SOSs everywhere.
Yeah, like it was the first time.
Beavers left. Rabbits ran away. Obviously distressed eagles took off.
After lightening his load.
Hummingbirds couldn't take it. A camouflage bittern decided he didn't have enough cover and fled the scene. And what the heck scares a snake back to where he came from?
Yep, there was tension in the air, all right.
Muskrats were so scared it turned them completely white. What causes an animal to be so scared it loses all of its color?
Yeah, about this time, I was hot on the scent of something going on myself, and a white rat really wasn't what was piquing my attention.
We started to think that maybe he was getting used to his fate.
He really was a cute little critter, though.
But then he got spooked and swam away as fast as his little legs could carry him. Hornets scare us plenty, but we just didn't think that this was what had the whole universe rattled.
I have no use for hornets. They're not weird, they're belligerent.
So we began to ponder whether something weird was in the water, because the snipes, well, they do spend a lot of time in there, and they kind of went a little crazy. Taking matters into their own hands, a small committee of pelicans had a powwow of sorts. Well, not sure what he's doing, the guy in the middle, whatever.
There's always one in every meeting.
But they decided to send their fearless leader to go get some more troops to battle whatever this scary force might be.
Seemed like a good idea to me.
Word got out and participants flew in from all over to form a committee. All volunteers were welcomed, including the latecomers. Once there, the members were briefed on what their job would be. Some took to the calling, and others did not. I'm out of here. When the remaining members figured out where the food was, they made their way to that end of the meeting room. And as most committee meetings go, this one got out of hand once someone introduced the food. It's like a platter full of donuts here.
Okay, now it's beginning to make sense. My dear Darcy had a white-collar position for local government where she observed that most officials avoided actual work by scheduling meetings in which nothing was decided except to schedule another meeting.
Well, between the food, the wannabe participants of egrets and heron, as well as ducks making jokes at every opportunity, not a lot was getting done at all. Most of them forgot why they were there at all.
Exactly. There you are. Perfectly put. Darcy could go back to work today after her 10-year absence and fit right in. See what I mean?
No, the egrets decided they were the managers. Then 2 of them got into it, and the lack of progress continued.
Pick any 2 county commissioners, and there you go.
Naturally, subcommittees were formed to try to get some work done.
In all honesty, their true function would be to cover up the fact that no work was done, as a general rule.
Chris approached one of the subcommittees to see how their discussions were going, but what they told him is that they formed their group mainly to eat in peace and get away from the crowds.
And the press.
Chris definitely commiserated with these guys about committees and about crowds.
Well, I enjoy solitude. They, in my opinion, just enjoy hiding.
One of the subcommittees decided that the Yellow Jackets had everyone spooked, and that was discussed at length as the reason for all the strange behavior.
How Darcy got the Yellow Jacket angle from the Pelicans is just a little bit woo for me.
Chris and I had our own dealings with Yellow Jackets as we walked the trails at Ankeny, because there they were, nests right in the middle of the path. The subcommittee asked me to share my experiences with Yellow Jackets when filming.
Get away. Yellow Jacket pestering me while I'm trying to... Dang it. Stop. Stung me.
Yellow Jackets just pester the crap out of me. I ended my testimony with, Madam Chair, frogs don't like Yellow Jackets, and neither do I. In the end, the subcommittee members decided to maybe perhaps look at this further at some other meeting, and then went out to lunch.
See? Do I need to elaborate? Darcy was just suffering delusionary burnout from her long years of service.
While they were gone, our heron actually took pity on us and decided to take us to the root of the problem. Here's what's got 'em all stirred up, he said. Bigfoot and his family. We're not sure why our heron was able to figure out that these were actually cattails and the rest could not, but we reported our findings back to the committee. The bigwigs held press conferences and took credit for solving the issue and complimenting each other on a job well done. The entire committee took off. Quite the exciting season at Ankeny. Luckily, we've got our memories of a less stressful time to share with you here at the old wildlife refuge.
frog. Oh, you saved the frog.
Can you see any mosquitoes?
We plan to be back next season to enjoy our own pot of gold.